Welcome back, folks. With wrestling season starting to wrap up, it's time to find out who truly is the best wrestler in their respective conferences. Now, Sioux City North, they were hosting the Missouri River Athletic Conference Tournament Championship matches only here. 126 pounds, Jace Curry of Sergeant Bluff Luton, able to gain control, get to the back. He'd win in a 13-2 major decision. We'll go to 132 pounds now. Creighton Krotz, he's going to come up with a big slam, but it's going to be Danny Cleveland of Sioux City East with the takedown, and not long after, Cleveland, he'd end up hearing that ref's hand hit the mat as he'd pick up a win with a pin. 138 pounds now. Kevin Klein of Sioux City East just keeps on twisting his opponent's shoulders. And there it is. Klein claims the MRAC title at 138, and the guy was pumped. 144 pounds. Drake Howard right off the bat just slings his opponent to the mat. Howard would pick up a pin in the first period to lay claim to his title. 150 pounds here. Ben Walsh's biggest opponent was actually his own nose, battling blood time, and his opponent did not matter, though. Walsh wins with a tech fall, picking up a takedown right there. Speaking of nosebleeds, though, by the way, Dax Kudum, double barrel with the gauze for his championship match. Kudum working his way back up from under, able to pick up 2 points on a reversal. He'd win in an 8-1 decision. To next matchup here, this is Lamar's Cougar Sigelson, able to pick up a takedown. He'd pick up the win in that matchup. Now we go to 215 pounds. This is Aiden Dather, just wearing down his opponent for 3. He'd win with a pin. And talk about a main event at heavyweight. Leslie Slider tosses Jack Zelani in a cradle. The big fella would have to settle for a near fall. We go to under 10 seconds left in this match. Zelani down 3, needs a takedown, shoots the leg, but can't finish through. Slider outlasts him to bring Sioux City North the conference title in the final match of the night. SBL wins the team contest, though. They didn't have a wrestler finish below 3rd on the night.